In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI, where I'm on location in the Jarbidge Wilderness. And today I am going to have a conversation with Craig Taylor about cybersecurity. And Craig is a seasoned cybersecurity expert with over 30 years of experience in the field. He's a certified information systems security professional and co-founder of CyberHoot. Craig has dedicated his career to enhancing cybersecurity literacy for small and medium-sized businesses. And we know that this is not a finished job yet, is it, Craig?
No, unfortunately not. It seems to be getting worse, not better.
Well, the tools that the bad guys, the bad actors have are pretty dramatically different at this point than when you started. Isn't that true?
So true. Yes, AI is impacting both detection and response, but also the creation of malware and the use of AI to craft spear-phishing attacks based on yours and my social footprint online. It's making things very enticing to click on, very enticing for individuals. They want to click because it's personally relevant in so many ways. Yeah.
And there's so many stories, but one of the craziest ones was a firm that where the CFO got a phone call from the CEO, but it was voice AI.
Yes.
And it was paralleling another transaction on email, and they were able to dupe a relatively large sized and sophisticated company into wiring money in the wrong spot. So how in the world are we as small business people able to manage and figure out how to navigate such sophistication?
Well, it's not lost on me that today our company was reviewing our training videos that we're putting together for next year. And the one that happened to, I literally just finished watching this. It was on deepfakes. And we had some advice for companies. Oh, cool. What you might see in the new year from our video, which trains people both personally and professionally, is that for any company out there, there's a very simple fix for the deepfake scenario. There's probably a couple things you have to do, but the first and most important thing is to create a safe word that is only shared in person between your CFO, CEO, and anybody with the purse strings, so that when it's time to send a wire or you get a phone call about an emergency transfer, you can say, just tell me the safe word. The backup to that is to always call back the individual on their known good phone number. So you've got your quick dial. And the last thing is to have 2 approvers for any transaction over a certain dollar amount, so that there's no ability for you to send the wire. Even if you believe everything's happening and it has to happen this moment, you still have to pull someone else in. So the safe word, the 2 approvers, and the callback should be good for many organizations. And it's not hard. I mean, that's not hard stuff to do. It's just you have to have a process.
Yeah, understood. Well, that's interesting though. So are you seeing that what adoption wise, are you seeing that companies are willing to do this, or what's kind of what's the status quo right now in 2025?
So it's interesting that I've asked more people personally, like family wise, the same advice goes, right? So parents who have children, maybe they're adult children now, grandparents, they get calls saying it's their granddaughter, grandson, they've been in a car accident, they need bail money to get out of jail.
Right.
And that safe word, actually, I've heard families having a safe word in place so that they can call it out and the other line goes dead, right? If you have this, because the hackers know there are certain people that know how to defend against this, and most everyone doesn't. So when they come up against a safe word, even if you don't have one, just ask for it, because they don't know if you have one or not, right? So the idea is that these things are happening both personally and professionally, and it's only going to get much, much worse, because the first news stories you're hearing about are very large sums, like millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars transferred erroneously to the wrong party. Now, flashback maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and you would see business email compromise behind these large wire transfer breaches, right? They would register a domain name with an S on the end of the company, target company's domain name, and they would break into someone's email account in the finance, CFO, that, usually an invoice scam. Here's an invoice for you. They go and type in their account information to log in and read the invoice, like from someone they know. And suddenly the hacker's in that conversation and waiting for that wire transfer conversation to start. Then they move it surreptitiously over to the S domain, right? So no one's the wiser on the far side that's going to pay this sum or is going to receive the sum, right? And suddenly the wire gets sent to the wrong place. And it's all in, you only find out about it, a few weeks later when the company calls and says, hey, we didn't receive funds. Well, what do you mean? I sent the funds 3 weeks ago, right? So these things are happening, but the evolution is AI is making it easier, and both with the phishing attacks that lead to that business email compromise, but then also it's starting to be real-time chat that is sounding like the CEO or the, a senior leader in the company saying, hey, yeah, remember that big purchase we were going to make? Well, we're making it today, and here's the instructions for wiring the money. So those other things you really need to clarify and have a process, especially around wire transfer. Having that 2 approvers and the safe word can really be the difference between calamity and disaster and, running your business smoothly.
Yeah, well, those are critical factors. Any other things in your framework, security framework, you want to share before we start talking about marketing?
Well, I would say that one of the best tips that we've ever given on our blog is to freeze your credit, right? This is a security framework where all of yours and my data is out there in the public domain now. Our social security numbers, our finances, our where we've lived, our date of birth, everything you need to steal someone's identity. And unfortunately, we've all gotten those letters in the mail that say, hey, we've been breached. Sorry about that, but we bought you credit monitoring.
Right.
Monitoring is
Experian. How did Experian get breached?
Right. Well, Experian was breached. NPD was breached, the National Public Database that fed Experian data, but it also fed all the others, TransUnion, Equifax, Innovis, all these different companies. So you get these letters that say, we're going to monitor your credit, but that's really a big lie to all of us. The only reason they monitor our credit is so that they continue to sell it, right? They can monetize it. If you freeze your credit, they can't monetize you. And in the United States, unlike many other countries of the world, there's an ability to freeze your credit. And it's written in the law. You have to go into these different credit agencies, but there are more than 4. There's primary credit agencies, which you've just mentioned, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, Innovis. Those are the big 4. But there are secondary credit agencies like NPD, and there are others documented. You can go to, do you mind if I share the article we've written that instructs people on how to freeze your credit?
Absolutely.
Go to cyberhoot.com/cybrary, CYBRARY, Cybrary for Cybersecurity Library, /identity-theft. And if you just Google CyberHoot identity theft, you'll find it. And at the end of that article, which explains why freezing it is better, it's like if you had a fire station across the street and you said, I don't need smoke alarms or smoke detectors in my house because the fire station next door, they'll catch it. They'll identify when my house is on fire for me and put it out. Why not stop it from happening to begin with, right? With the freeze, it's like preventing the fire from starting to begin with. So freeze your credit, do it everywhere. When you need it, it's easy enough to lift the freeze for a specific number of days for a specific entity. Like, if you're getting a Home Depot card or a Lowe's card, you can tell them, okay, we use Experian. Lift the freeze, say Home Depot, 1 day, pull your credit, it's frozen again. That's really smart protection for anybody listening to this to save your identity from being stolen. That's about all I have for you.
Love it. No, that's a lot. And we'll make sure that link's in the show
Sure.
notes so people can access that. I appreciate that. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on LLMs and security, and if there's any hope that we can keep our IP and our PII personal.
Well, AI is disrupting everything, right? If you listen and believe what Bill Gates has said, his famous quote on AI is that if you sum up all of humanity's changes over the last, say 5,000 years, going all the way back to the pyramids, all the technology changes, all of the industrial revolution, the advent of the internet and email and all of this communication, all that change added up together and put into a sum is going to be small and dwarfed by the changes that AI will cause to the world. Every industry.
Sure.
And we're starting to see it with the numbers of unemployment creeping up. It just happened this last week. And that's tied to many of the largest companies in the world laying people off as they transition support jobs to AI, as they transition, marketing. There's some marketing efforts that can move from, graphic designers to AI potentially. There's some backlash too, right?
Sure.
You just heard that, I think, what is it? DuckDuckGo has an AI filter that you can turn on so that all art generated by AI can be filtered out, and you just get raw, real, human being created stuff. So there's maybe some backlash.
Sure.
We're going to have a bumpy road for a few years, but truthfully, AI is changing everything, and how we go about our lives. You either get on this bandwagon, or you're going to be left behind. Honestly, learning how to use and prompt AI to do certain things is really important. Now, I personally just experienced a negative backlash on something I did yesterday. I have a client in the insurance industry, and I sent them a bunch of questions asking if we could do a case study together. And I got an email back last night. It bothered me a lot, and I'm still trying to digest what he meant by it. But he said, look, if you send me questions generated by AI, I'm going to send you answers generated by AI. That's how much time I'm going to give you back, right? And the reality is I used AI to cleanse and clarify a set of questions that we worked very hard manually, right? The old-fashioned way to create, to ask 6 or 7 questions. What was the problem? What was the challenge? What was the solution? And questions around that. But it was focused on managed service providers, and he's a direct insurance agent. So I had to modify things to fit the insurance. So I took what we had created manually, put it through an AI adjustment, and I sent it to him. And I don't know that he was offended by it, but he said, listen, if you're going to send me AI questions, I'm going to send you AI answers. So there is some negativity that can come back on companies using AI in marketing efforts or in other areas of the world, because I'm sure that around the turn of the century, 1900, there were a lot of people who were complaining about the smog and the pollution of these new things called cars or automobiles and how terrible they are, right? And I hate the smell. You never had. I prefer the smell of horse poop. I don't like, diesel engines or car engines, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and no, I think some of that's going to be age banded more than not, right? Like there's we're seeing super high adoption from Gen X and I mean not Gen X, from the Zs, and the kind of the enculturation of it in a way that they're so transactional and so less person to person, right? That I think old guys like us who've been around for a while, we still have that filter about what's real and what's AI generated. So it is an interesting time to try to weave through how you use these tools to get the most benefit, but then still also maintain the human to human contact.
Oh, you're absolutely right. If you listen to certain other podcasts talking about financials and company sizes and things, there's a couple of guys that I listen to. I forget their name of their podcast now, but they said the next $1 billion company is going to be 4 people because of AI. You don't need 100 people to support $1 billion of revenue, because AI can be a force multiplier. And we see it in CyberHoot. We see it in my company. We're using it in a lot of different ways. We have now an AI chatbot inside the interface. If you need support and you're in Australia and we're asleep, go to the Ask the Chatbot. We fed it all of our documentation so that it can troll and answer in real time for you. What a great improvement over waiting 12 hours for CyberHoot to wake up and answer your question. So that's been a huge benefit for our clients and our MSPs.
Well, that's good. And what are you seeing for CyberHoot in terms of your marketing and what you're doing differently now than you were doing 2 years ago?
Well, we have a marketing agency now that has helped us build a dozen case studies. The case study example was just saying, hey, we probably need one on this insurance industry and how we're helping cyber insurance companies keep their breaches low, but they're the ones that are asking everyone else, how are you dealing with, oh, I can see you might have a bee on your ear. That's funny. I love the wilderness. So the AI company, the marketing agency is helping us build case studies. And I'm sure that there's been some AI behind the scenes to help pull this together, to put a nice look and feel around it. We're seeing different companies pop up, and some are coming and leaving because they don't have good, strong business models. But there's been an explosion in AI companies out there that can do everything. I saw one the other day that purported to build PowerPoint presentations from just a verbal prompt. And my first tinkering with it wasn't really ready for prime time. I created a prompt the other day, Emanuel, that said, listen, if you want to use, let's say we had an AI digital assistant on this video call. There's a plethora of those out there, Fireflies and Otter and a dozen more. If you look at their privacy policies, they have statements in them that say things like, we will share your content with third parties to improve our services, right? Period. If you read through the lines there, it means they're selling our data to other people, right? To train LLMs, to improve, to monetize the conversations that we're having. So I created a website with a fancy prompt that basically said, give me the URL of the privacy policy of the AI tool. And I put it,
Thank you so much.
I put it through, and what you get are 10 really important questions to be asking about: will you share my data? Will you store my data forever, or is it deleted? Will you consume my data into a public LLM? Will you sell my data elsewhere? All these different questions, and then it spits out this rather nice report. And I'm thinking about monetizing that as a service. You can pay $20 a month, $40 a month, and put any number of privacy policies from not just AI companies, but other vendors you deal with, and get a report back on how, a scorecard on their privacy of your relationship and the data you produce in that.
Yeah, and I think you should build the encyclopedia of companies too, so I can just put in whatever fixer, and I can get that just spit out for me. So yeah, that would be that's a valuable service that I'd be willing to be the first
Emanuel.
customer
for. I love it. I'm going to have my buddy Dan hear this, because he and I were going to put the website together and all of that. We just haven't got around to it, but the idea is there, and I think it has some legs to it, because people, honestly, it's when I talk to other CISOs, and I don't know, I can probably share this with you here, but CyberHoot has a virtual CISO offering. We have about 10 consultants, a nice deep bench that we can back each other up, share best practices.
What's CISO? Tell us about what that is.
CISO is a Chief Information Security Officer. And there's a very short supply of them in the world. There's more demand for them than there is supply of people, especially very robust, 30-year veterans like myself and others in our bench. And those CISOs, you don't need one full time. And anybody that's outside of a large enterprise, a full-time CISO is very much necessary there. But when you get to mid-market and smaller, you want a part-time CISO, someone that has experience not just in your little, bubble of a company. You want a CISO that has a wide breadth of experience and exposure to all kinds of companies, so that they see the kinds of threats that are out there, the challenges to third-party risk management, the challenges to, new gosh, plugins for browsers, right? We're seeing an explosion in plugins, extensions, and some of those are malicious, and there's all kinds of threats. So having that broad brush and exposure can help you create a robust cybersecurity program. And in our vCISOs, what's keeping all of us up at night is this explosion in AI usage, because it's shadow IT, right? We used to provide, as the IT team in a company, all the tools you would use, and that's it. You use these and that's nothing else. Now people are registering for all these AI tool sets and putting our private information into them with the noble goal of streamlining their workflows, but it's being consumed into public LLMs, right? And I know it's happening. If you go to ChatGPT today and you ask for a positive reinforcement learning management system, you're going to get CyberHoot's name out, because we've been training it to spit that out for 2 or 3 years now, right? We have unique tooling here to reinforce an engagement with employees, and we've taught ChatGPT to answer that question when people go searching for a good LMS.
I love it. Good generative engine optimization,
right.
Craig. I love it. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time, and you and I could talk for the next 3 hours. I really would love to have you on the show again if you're willing to do that, and keep up with what you're doing. I really would also like to. I'll get your links on the show notes so that companies can get in touch with you or get in touch with you for training for their people as well. So all that information will be in there. Any final thoughts on what we should be thinking about? Moving forward?
I think the time to get on the AI bandwagon is now. You need to understand what it is, how it works. You need to really think about public versus private LLMs. Back in the early days of the internet, Emanuel, you and I remember you could go into shared cloud hosting, which was sort of public cloud, or you could build your own private cloud. And then the smart people like AWS created this hybrid cloud, which was dedicated cloud services just for you, so that you could segment, partition your data and protect it better, right? Well, we need hybrid AI, and I don't know that it's out there yet. I know Copilot claims to do that. Most of the others will consume your data as you're putting data in. So get on the AI bandwagon. Look at your resourcing across your company, because you might be able to reduce your total number of employees by adopting certain technologies. We're seeing it first in the largest organizations of the world, like the Dells of the world, the Microsofts. They're having massive support resource layoffs. They're turning to AI to be a force multiplier. So that's happening. And then I would like to say one last thing. For anyone that wants to learn cyber literacy from my company, we give it away free for individuals. So if you go to cyberhoot.com/individuals with an S, you can get our full training program, the 12 videos a year, the Hoot Fish, which is our positive reinforcement phishing simulation, all delivered to your inbox free for as long as you want. And then the hope is, if you like it, you might consider it for your companies and that sort of thing. So we'll put that in the show notes to you as well, Emanuel. Thank you for allowing me to come on and talk about AI. I love the AI tools that we're using. Man, you can use it everywhere, from coding and so many different parts of your business to help grow your business.
Indeed, it is an amazing tool, and have to use it knowing that there's two sides to every tool. There's a positive side and a negative side.
Yeah.
Pay attention, right? All right, Craig. Well, I'm thankful that you spent some time with me today, and I'll reach out to you and see about getting you on the show.
Thank you so much, Emanuel.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.